think this is the largest number of ties on the screen since COVID. Just don't stand up. We don't want to know. Well, it's 7 o'clock, so I'd like to call this meeting of the Lakewood City Council for Tuesday, February 16th to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Boki.
Present.
Councilmember Brandstetter.
Here.
Councilmember Farmer.
Here.
Councilmember Moss.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Whalen.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Thank you. So the first category on our agenda is proclamations and presentations, and we have an annual pleasure of recognizing the 2021 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Calendar artists, and this year they're from Beechwood Elementary School. So I'd like to call on Diana Holler, Stormwater Compliance Inspector, to provide us with an overview of the 2021 Stormwater Outreach Program. And Ms. Holler will also share a PowerPoint of the students' art, and Beechwood Elementary School students will join us on the screen when their image is displayed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and member of the council. So as you know, every year the Public Works Department Stormwater Division, we create a Stormwater Outreach Calendar where I've gone into the classrooms of one of the elementary schools in Lakewood and talked about stormwater, different causes of pollution, and I asked for them to draw pictures for us to create a calendar. Well, this year is our 10th year of doing this, but because of COVID, it became quite tricky. The classrooms weren't open. Typically, I do this in June and July, and then I create the calendar during the summer months. Well, this year, the school didn't know how they were going to be having classrooms. And finally, in October, the Beechwood Elementary contacted me and said, yes, we're ready to do this. However, I wasn't sure how I was going to present my stormwater education to these students. So in about 2 hours, we had to create a YouTube video, and it was pretty comical, but we had to come up with a video that they could present to the students via YouTube instead of the old-fashioned assembly style. And I actually got more art than in previous years. It was a really good turnout. So I was really happy with that. Our messages about stormwater is pollution prevention and illegal dumping, fish-friendly car washing, picking up your dog waste, which every year I say is the most classic one. They enjoy drawing that one. And then where does stormwater really go? Once we collect the artwork, I then go to work and create the calendar, write the messages in there. And we had 1,000 of them printed. And we actually got the calendars to press by December. And I had the first one in hand the first week in January. So we've received 1,000 calendars, and 350 of those calendars went to Beechwood Elementary School on JBLM. 200 of them went to the Chamber of Commerce. I gave 100 of them to Mary Dodsworth for her 25th anniversary swag bags. And then several businesses within the city of Lakewood have received the calendars to give out to their favorite or most frequent customers. So this year, 19 pieces of art were chosen, and one was for the cover, 12 was for the months, and then we had 6 honorable mentions. So I'm going to have a little slideshow of the calendar, since in previous years you've had the calendars in front of you. And as I do that, hopefully some of the students will be on the Zoom meeting and you'll be able to congratulate them. So I'll work my magic here. This is my first time on this kind of Zoom. Okay, I hope this is correct. So here we have the stormwater calendar 2021 featuring Beechwood Elementary.
Anna, have you shared your screen with us yet?
Have I done, let's see. How come isn't it not letting me?
Do you have the green share screen button down at the bottom center of your Zoom?
Let's find it. Ah. Sorry about that. Trying to get. Share screen. Share screen. Okay. Is it sharing now?
It is not, but I connect. Oh, yep, there we go.
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. A lot of little buttons to push. Okay, I think I have it now. Okay, so Beechwood Elementary 2021 calendar. Our first cover was for Esvedia M. Hinojosa. She's in the 2nd grade. And January was Killian Grajida in the 1st grade. Next is Zachary Jordan. He has February in the 2nd grade. There's a dog waste one. March, Holly Burleson, 3rd grade. April, Jadelyn Turner in the 2nd grade. May was Charles Anibaba, another 2nd grader. June was Allie Meeks, a 1st grader. And July was Francesca Grajida in the 4th grade. August, Luke Albers in the 3rd grade. September, Emmy Meeks, a 3rd grader. October, Jalen Weaver, a 4th grader. November, Benjamin Addy, 3rd grader. And December is Brylan Grajida, a 3rd grader.
Great.
And then we had 6 honorable mentions. We had quite a few art pieces, so we couldn't let them go. So the back cover, we had honorable mention Jordan Weaver, a 2nd grader. Holly Burleson, a 3rd grader. Jackson Cadle, a 3rd grader. Rulon Wells, a 2nd grader. Haley DeGroot, a 3rd grader. And the last one was Isaac Polak, and he's a 2nd.
Thank you for that. And to the students who were able to join and watch the presentation, I see a few of them coming up. Zachary and Charles and Holly and Veda, Luke, Heather. I know I'm going to miss some people. There's
Get a picture.
We have certificates for all of them that they will be receiving. I'll drop them off at the school this week or next week so they can get handed out to them.
We're sorry that you can't join us in our council chambers for a meeting and take the picture. So Deputy Mayor Whalen and Councilmember Wolke are taking your picture now. That's usually what we do when we award the certificates. Thank you for entering your artwork. It's beautiful.
Nice.
And it sends a good message to the community that they have to be careful with their trash and avoid polluting the water and grow up to be good citizens like all of you. So thank you again for participating. I'm anxious to see the calendar myself. I routinely get one and use it. And I hope that you all will be here next year to enter the contest again and show us how your creativity has expanded even further. So thanks again. Would anybody else on council like to say anything to the students? Mr. Whalen?
Congratulations. Good work. And I'll make sure that my dog cleans up after himself. So thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, great job, you guys.
I have a question.
Yes? Heather?
It's Haley. It's my wife's phone.
Oh, okay. Hey, Haley.
So, I think something got mixed up. This was actually my drawing, and then it says Holly. Yeah.
This is Haley's picture.
Oh, my.
That's not Holly's. Holly was listed on there twice, and Haley was listed on the wrong picture.
Oh, shoot.
And then they say that I was on this one. That's not my picture.
That's not her picture.
And this one's Holly's.
That's
Holly's.
Holly's actual picture.
Okay, well, we'll have Ms. Holler work to straighten out the certificates for you, and we're sorry for the mix-up.
Yeah, we're kind of disappointed by it.
I'm so sorry. We did have them double checked, so I apologize for that.
She wrote her name on the back. Her name was on it. Do you have anything else to say?
I guess not.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Say
Thanks
thank you.
for coming tonight.
Tell them thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us participate.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Thank you for all for joining in on this effort to inform the community. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll move to the next item of business, which is public comment. Public comments are accepted by mail, email, or virtual comment. Send your comments in advance by mail or email to Brianna Schumacher, City Clerk at 6000 Main Street, Southwest Lakewood, Washington 98499, or B Schumacher at cityoflakewood.us. Comments received up to 1 hour before the meeting have been provided to the council electronically. Clerk, would you please inform us of the names of anyone who has submitted comments in advance?
Mayor Anderson, we did not receive any comments in advance of this evening's meeting.
Thank you. But that doesn't preclude you from making comment. If you would like to provide live public comments, you will need to join the Zoom meeting as an attendee by calling the telephone number 253-215-8782, the number which is on the screen, and entering participant ID 868-7263-2373, which is also on the screen, or visiting zoom.us and entering participant ID code meeting code 868-7263-2373. Upon entering the meeting, please enter your name and other chosen identifier. Using the raise hand feature, you will be called upon in turn. When you are unmuted, please provide your name, city of residence. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Outside of that 3-minute public comment period, all attendees on Zoom will continue to have the raise hand function, but you will not be recognized or acknowledged except during your turn to participate. So let's see what, get rid of the share screen so I can see participants. Go to the attendees. The first person who is in line is Hans Heckman.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes.
Excellent. Well, good to be with you all this evening. And I know I only have 3 minutes. I'll make it quick too, because I'm sure Mr. Caulfield would like to get to the hockey game that just started between Colorado and Vegas on the NHL network. So good to see you all again. Pleasure to be with you. I just want to take a couple minutes to briefly update you on some things we're doing in the community around the response to COVID and some of our longstanding commitments. It's been a heck of a year for all of us, and the world now is operating on the networks that we provide. And I'm happy to say that while we've seen our traffic grow by over 30%, we've held up well. We do have some pinch points out there that we're working on to relieve congestion, but overall network is holding up well. And when you think about what it takes to pull off a Zoom meeting like this, there are really 4 major components of how internet service works. And if they're all working, it's great. If one goes down, it doesn't. And we own one of those parts. So I'm glad that overall the whole internet ecosystem has functioned quite well. One of the things I wanted to bring up to speed on is our Internet Essentials program. We're in our 10th year of this, and this is broadband, in-home broadband for folks who are low income. And again, we're in our 10th year. To date, we've helped over 85,000 families here in the state of Washington, over 4 million nationwide. And what this is, again, is broadband in the home for $9.95 for folks who are in the low income status. When we started it 10 years ago, it was for folks who had kids on free and reduced lunch. That was the one socioeconomic indicator we could use nationwide. And over the years, we expanded it to other populations such as veterans or folks living in public housing. And then a couple of years ago, we just expanded it to all low income folks. And so that service is available and has been a great asset to folks during this time, especially as we had to shift to remote learning and kiddos had to get online and do that. One of the things that we've done, we've enhanced it in terms of increasing the speed. So it's a 50 meg service now, which is more than adequate to do Zoom meetings and things like this, as well as all the other homework. And we've looked to partner with school districts in helping get the word out about the program, or if individual districts would like to help with some financial assistance for low-income families, we've got a mechanism for that. In fact, late last year, rather, OSBI stepped up and has funding for low-income families to get the Internet Essentials product in home if they still cannot afford the $9.95 a month. And so I say that because it'd be a great opportunity for your school districts to reach out to OSBI, learn more about that, wherein basically the state's going to pick up the tab here for folks who may not be able to afford that. So that's been a great endeavor on the state's parts, as well as many other school districts around the state. As an offshoot of that as well, we're working to set up what we call lift zones. And this is basically free gigabit speed internet in facilities that are set up to accommodate the public. And so I bring that to your attention tonight to ask you to, if you know of a nonprofit entity out there, a community center that is open and staffed and can host folks in a socially distanced manner during these times, we'd love to hear of them, reach out to them and see if there might be a good partner in this. If we have service available there at the building, we can bring it in and again, render gigabit speed Wi-Fi in spaces that can accommodate 25 folks up to 100 folks. We just are looking for a good partner who can operate the facility in a safe manner. And this is a commitment we've made again around the country. We're looking to do 1,000 of them this year around the country. We've done 29 in the state of Washington so far. We just started in November. So I'd love to do more here in Tacoma, Pierce County. So if you've got any great ideas, a number of you know me, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll reach out to those folks and see if they might be a good partner, a good fit in that regard. The other place we're leaning into is with small and medium-sized businesses, particularly in the BIPOC community. We know that they have been hardest hit during this tough year. And so Comcast has made a $100 million commitment over the next 3 years to assist small and medium-sized businesses. And this is everything from marketing to technology, service, obviously, that we render to help them get through these tough times and to help them flourish when we come back to our new normal. And so that's when we're just starting and getting underway. But again, I think where you'll see some great things happen over the coming year or so. And with that, I probably am at my 3 minutes. And we've already had one fight in the hockey match, John, but things are off to a good start. I'm happy to, probably not appropriate if you ask questions, but if you want to, I'm happy to answer.
We know where to find you, where to find Comcast. So thanks for bringing it. Your time did expire, but I recognized you as someone representing
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We need that update on the utility functions going on in the city during this difficult time. So thanks for coming tonight.
You bet. Thanks so much.
Next person to speak is Liz Scott.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Liz Scott. I've lived in Lakewood for 18 years and my husband has lived here for over 30. And we've seen a lot of changes in Lakewood. But most recently, I think partly due to this council, I've seen some really positive changes with sidewalks around school areas and in communities that need that uplift. And so I appreciate that and I hope that continues. But I'm actually here to support Kimmy Ginn for the position, interim position 5. And I met Kimmy a couple of years ago when she was running for the Clover Park School District. And I was so impressed by her passion and her knowledge of students and her caring for this community. And I worked on her campaign and was disappointed that she didn't win. But I sent a letter in and I want to highlight a few things from that letter about why Kimmy would be such a great candidate. She stands out not only for the skills and accomplishments she's achieved, but also for her honesty, authenticity, integrity, and altruism. As an educator, a consultant, and a leader, she is truly dedicated to working collaboratively with others for the betterment of the community, with a focus on including communities that have been underserved or marginalized. Ms. Ginn has been actively involved in the Lakewood and Pierce County organizations. She's the director of Vibrant Schools, which is a diverse coalition committed to ensuring that students of color and students impacted by poverty graduate college eligible and career ready. In addition, Ms. Ginn created IMKI Enterprises, where she served as a multicultural and diversity consultant for business, government, and educational organizations. For over 30 years, she's helped organizations, large and small, develop diversity and cultural competency programs, resolve conflicts, and build community. And I know with Lakewood City Council has recently voted to adopt a supportive policy on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Kimmy Glenn would be such a perfect person to help that become a reality. So I hope you won't hesitate to appoint a woman of color whose life work has been successfully devoted to public service with special expertise in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I have to say, I watched some of the interviews and I really was so impressed by her ideas and her passion for this community. So I hope you will appoint her for that position. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. So all the people who have their virtual hand raised, but that doesn't preclude you from participating in public comment if you wish to. So while we have a pregnant pause here for a moment, we'll see if anyone else wants to make public comment. Please raise your hand, indicate you want to enter the room. Going once. Don't see anyone else. So I will declare public comment closed. We now move to the regular agenda, excuse me, the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
A, approval of the minutes of the joint city council and Clover Park School District Board meeting of January 25th, 2021. B, motion number 2021-10, authorizing the execution of an agreement with GRM Information Management Services, Inc. for a document management software system. C, items filed in the office of the city clerk. 1, Arts Commission meeting minutes of January 6, 2020. 2, Arts Commission meeting minutes of February 3rd, 2020. 3, Lakewood's Promise Advisory Board meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2020. 4, Arts Commission meeting minutes of September 14th, 2020. 5, Lakewood's Promise Advisory Board meeting minutes of October 1st, 2020. 6, Arts Commission meeting minutes of October 5th, 2020. 7, Arts Commission meeting minutes of November 2nd, 2020. 8, Lakewood's Promise Advisory Board meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2020. 9, Arts Commission meeting minutes of December 7th, 2020. 10, Arts Commission meeting minutes of January 4th, 2021. And 11, Lakewood's Promise Advisory Board meeting minutes of January 7th, 2021.
Thank you. Is there any item which any member of the council wishes to have removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Whalen, seconded by Mr. Branstetter that we adopt the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We now move to ordinances. Ordinance number 749, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 749, amending chapter 8.76 of the Lakewood Municipal Code relating to motor vehicles in parks and on trails.
For this, we have Ms. Dodsworth.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. We reviewed this in detail at the study session last week, talking about some of the changes, potential changes to the code regarding motor vehicles on park trails. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions or clarify anything that wasn't provided last week.
Any questions for Ms. Dodsworth? Entertain a motion on ordinance number 749.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Moss, seconded by Ms. Farmer that we adopt ordinance number 749. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, well, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We now move to resolutions. Resolution number 2021-2. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2021-2, amending resolution number 2020-15 of the City Council of the City of Lakewood, Washington, setting the 2021 docket of potential amendments to the Lakewood Comprehensive Plan, including the future land use and zoning maps into the Lakewood Land Use and Development Code for 4 Habitat for Humanity parcels.
For this, we have Mr. Buer.
Good evening, City Council. Can you hear me okay?
You're a little weak, but we can hear you.
Just your voice, Dave. That's it.
Okay.
It's a transmission.
All right, here we go. The requested action this evening is to amend the list of proposed comprehensive plan amendments and zoning ordinance amendments for 2021 to include Habitat for Humanities properties located in Tilikum. This item was presented to the City Council at a study session on February 8th. The new land use designations in zoning would establish increasing density to allow 9 affordable housing units. The comprehensive plan land use designation is currently single family with accompanying R3 zoning. If this proposal were to move forward, the comprehensive plan designation would change to mixed residential and underlying MR2 zoning. If this proposal is amenable to the council, the way in which to move this forward is to adopt Resolution 2021-02, amending a previously adopted resolution number 2020-15. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my remarks.
Any questions for Mr. Buer? Entertain a motion on resolution number 2021-02.
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Whalen, second by Ms. Cost, that we adopt resolution number 2021-02. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Branstetter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I certainly don't have any problem with the Habitat for Humanity actions being added to the docket. However, I do have an amendment to propose to the resolution. And I would move to add the following to the resolution. That the council further hereby amends the 2021 Lakewood Comprehensive Plan and Land Use and Development Code docket to delete application 2021-07.
I'll second that.
Mr. Buer, what's that application?
That particular application applies to the Center of Local Importance designation. Basically, what was previously approved by the council was amending the COLI and amalgamating two areas, COLI 4, Lakewood Industrial Park and Clover Park Technical College, with COLI 5, which is the South Tacoma Way. The Center of Local Importance designation is applied to parts of the city to improve transportation grant funds. The effort here was to see if we could amalgamate these two and see if we could expand the COLI boundary with no changes to the underlying zoning.
Okay, it's your amendment, Mr. Branstetter. Would you care to explain?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Buer said the 2021-07 relates to the elimination of two centers of local importance and creation of a center of industrial importance within the comprehensive plan. When council approved placing this city-initiated application on the 2021 docket, it was acknowledged that the application was not completely fleshed out and analyzed. When the resolution that's before us today was proposed, I inquired of the city manager the status of the analysis of this application. And he noted that to date, there is not any draft analysis of this application. Other important work, primarily efforts on the Lakewood Station District sub-area plan, are taking longer than anticipated and involve the same staff that were intended to do this analysis of this application. Application 2021-07, and particularly removal of the South Tacoma Way Center of Local Importance from the comprehensive plan, is not an action merely requiring a hasty analysis of whether this action would potentially improve Lakewood's position in competing for transportation funding. There are other considerations and messages that this action would communicate. and a broader and more holistic analysis of the application is warranted. The South Tacoma Way Center of Local Importance in the comprehensive plan currently reflects that this area is of commercial significance to the city, and that the South Tacoma Way is the city's most prolific commercial area and home to a nascent international district. Any analysis should include evaluation of why the importance of this area has so significantly changed, and whether the proposed change is consistent with our city vision element of leveraging and embracing our diversity. Further, the comprehensive plan has policy guidance regarding land use planning for South Tacoma Way and Pacific Highway. Land use policy 29-2 specifies that planning for South Tacoma Way and Pacific Highway would be done by working with property owners and local businesses to develop changes in a corridor plan concept. Application 2021-2 should follow this policy, and analysis should include engagement of the requisite property owners and businesses. But we have not as yet laid the groundwork to do that as a part of the study and analysis of this action. And I'm concerned that such engagement, not yet started, cannot be comprehensive within the window of the 2021 cycle time remaining. Finally, as a council, we have committed to viewing our policy action with respect to equity and inclusion. Application 2021-07 is an action that calls for doing this, given the demographics of the areas involved. We did budget for a staff position to help guide the council and city staff in these efforts. However, we've not yet hired that position. Given that we're delayed getting started on an analysis, and that the application 2021 is not driven by a legislative mandate, and that considerable effort will be required to adequately analyze it, it would be most appropriate to delete it from the 21 document and consider it in a future period after a thorough evaluation of its impact and value and the message that it sends to the community can be assessed. And I would ask the council to support the amendment to the resolution.
Any other questions for council before I ask mine? Mr. Whalen.
Perhaps a couple of questions for Mr. Buer. As I understand the resolution before us, this is simply to docket these as potential applications subject to some additional further study, analysis, likely public comment, and then further council action. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So with regard to this one, I'm not necessarily opposed to what Mr. Brandstetter is indicating in his amendment, but my question to you is, what are the downside implications? Do we potentially lose out on transportation funding with PSRC this year if we don't get this in the queue?
If I could provide, can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yes.
I can provide some additional information. First of all, moving forward with this amendment was predicated upon the city staff obtaining a grant. The purpose of the grant was to do the analysis. And behind that, the proposal was to try to complete the analysis by the time it got to the Planning Commission and City Council for review and action. However, our ability to get that grant did not take place because other people got in front of it. So we then decided to pursue two other grants to see if we can answer these questions. Those applications are pending. I can tell you that this item is not going to be moving forward in 2021 because of the timing situation between all the processes and public hearings and like to take it to the Planning Commission and City Council. At this time, the proposal would be to indicate to the council when we get to that point at the commission and council level at hearings is to move it forward into 2022. But if you remove it entirely from consideration this evening, it's not something that we're going to work on again unless the city council amends our work plan. Because right now, the resolution constitutes something of a work plan item for this department for 2021 and 2022. Those are my comments.
So it won't necessarily be ready for final review and adoption for some time until after adequate study by staff. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
So it might not be until 2022 anyway, right?
That's correct, but again, I would make the preface that you remove it, it's not something that we're going to work on.
So let me ask you this, knowing what you know about what's coming down the pike with PSRC and the review and qualification of transportation dollars based on centers of local importance, if we move this off our docket to maybe 2023, 24, how does that potentially impact our eligibility for grant monies for that corridor? It's a crystal ball question. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
It's hard to give a good answer to that question, given the fact that the COLI funds are based upon a process, and that I really don't have enough information to tell you what that's going to look like in previous years. Although setting the city up with the COLI properly places us in a better position for financial transportation dollars. That's all this was about.
Right, exactly. What do we know at the staff level of our erstwhile competitors and what other cities have done with the Transportation Coordinating Committee on their own centers of local importance? Do we know?
I'm not familiar enough to give you an answer tonight, Mr. Whaley.
Okay. Mr. Caulfield, do you have any input on that?
Just generally speaking, if you remember several years ago when the city council began to create, these centers of local importance in Lakewood. And again, it's a tool that's provided through the Pierce County process.
Right.
We decided to create a number of them to, again, increase our competitiveness.
Right.
And the reason we did that was actually in reaction to the fact that a whole bunch of other cities had done it and we had lost out, or we believed we had lost out over a cycle or two on some transportation funding. But as soon as we set up these COLIs, all of a sudden we seem to be doing a whole lot better. And that was back in the 2015, 16, 17 time frame.
Right.
So basically, just as we're using COLIs and constantly looking at reviewing and trying to enhance them, other cities, I imagine, are doing that as well.
Right. So that's my comment, Mayor. My only thought is, again, further study is probably warranted by all of us, but I don't want us to get too far off in the queue when transportation dollars could be at stake.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Mr. Viewer, there is the underlying unamended motion would not put us on a track for any zoning change. Is that correct?
That's correct. No zoning change.
So the property owners within the centers of local importance would have the same development rights with or without the amendment.
That's also correct.
Anyone else? All right, I'll call for a question on the amendment. Will all in favor of the amendment please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. We're gonna have to do a roll call, Ms. Schumacher. You're muted.
Councilmember Bilkey,
Aye.
Councilmember Brandstetter,
Aye.
Councilmember Farmer,
Aye.
Councilmember Moss. You're muted.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Whalen,
Nay.
Mayor Anderson,
Nay.
5-2. Motion to amend carries.
Except it's
Excuse me.
4-2.
4-2.
Have to use both hands. So the amendment passes. We now move to the amended resolution number 2021-02. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the resolution as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Resolution passes. We now move to resolution 2021-03. Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2021-03, adopting a second amendment to the fiscal year 2019, July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020 Annual Action Plan, and amendment to the Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Act Citizen Participation Plan.
And for this, we have Program Manager Jeff Gum.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. Before you is as Brianna mentioned, the city clerk mentioned, the resolution to amend the 2019 annual action plan. Specifically, it would reallocate $246,700.59 in CDBG CV1 funds, which are CARES Act funds, as well as $456,726 in CDBG CV3 CARES Act funds. This was reviewed by council on February 1st. At that meeting, staff provided council with various funding options on how to allocate the CDBG CV1 and 3 funds. Council did provide some direction on how they would like to see those funds, and staff has made those changes. So before you is the resolution allocating those funds. Specifically, CDBG CV3 funds would be allocated to emergency payments for rental and mortgage assistance and administration. We've removed the housing counseling component from both of those funds. CDBG CV1 funds would be allocated to the same funds. Total of funds to be reallocated, emergency payments for rental mortgage assistance would be $655,892.63. The balance, $47,533.96, would be allocated to administration. The funding, we provided some kind of general parameters for council to see how the program would move forward. It would be a program to fund rental and mortgage assistance to people at or below 80% of area median income. It would be a one-time grant to each household. The household would be limited to one grant. It would be a $4,000 maximum. Payments would be provided to the mortgage company or the landlord. And then there's some security provisions that are required by HUD, duplication of benefits to make sure we're not duplicating other funds that have come down through the federal government for same types of assistance. And then there would be a subrogation agreement requirement if funds were duplicated. And if approved, we look forward to getting this program going in approximately 30 days out to the public and get the funds moved as quickly as we can. With that, I turn it back and see if council has any questions of myself.
Questions for Mr. Gum? Mr. Whalen.
Mr. Gum, thank you. Simple math, dividing the amount of money divided by 4,000 per potential applicant is about 163 to 165 applications over what period of time?
We anticipate probably a 3 to 4 month cycle to get these funds out. And realistically, looking at kind of what we did for the rental assistance, our average was about 2,200, and I anticipate it'll be probably similar to this program, so maybe 250 served.
Okay. You feel comfortable you guys can handle the onslaught of the application process and divvying up of the money, because it's a bit of work on top of everything else you're doing?
Yeah, we were actually fortunate to hire an additional staff member for this, which is what we're going to use some of the admin dollars for. And she's dedicated specifically to this program. She's got great CDBG experience, and I have all confidence in her getting it going. And the nice thing is we did learn a lot with the home application process. So we're going to take those lessons and move forward.
That's really good to hear. So thank you for that. It's obviously money that's going to be well spent in the community. So we're appreciative of your work.
Thank you.
So if Friday was a markup and the Capitol was, US Capitol was any indication, there's going to be a lot more to follow.
Right.
Doing this the first go around, did we have applicants whose needs were unsatisfied?
We did. We had in the initial go around, the funding had some different limitations. So we got the monies kind of in the middle of HUD changing rules. So we limited the original funds to back rent that was due up until December of 2020. Since then, they've changed the rules and they've opened it up pretty much. There really aren't any ends now. So as long as it began in January of 2020, they can be paid all the way through to current. So we do have a number of clients, probably about a third of them. So probably about 30 or 35 that realistically do have some additional needs.
So do we have any applicants who would have qualified, but we just didn't have the money for?
No, we've helped. Right. Well, we haven't gone through all of the applications yet. There's still a few that we're waiting for bits and pieces, but everybody that applied was funded.
So in an effort to get the money out quicker, is it contemplated that we'll go back to some of the applicants and plus them up?
Yeah, that's what staff was looking to do. We were looking to limit them to $4,000 for the program total. So depending on if they received CDBG funds or home funds, which was the other program, then we would limit the household to that. But we do plan on starting and contacting those applicants and moving forward, and then sending applications out beyond that as well.
Well, so I think you just answered my final question, which was the $4,000 is cumulative from the city of Lakewood as opposed to this program?
Yes, that's what we're looking to do.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from Mr. Gum? Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Mr. Gum, I'm with the mayor. I think we just get the money out as quickly as possible. I mean, if in the next week you end up spending it all, it is what it is, because I think we will get more aid going forward. We just need to assume that and help people now. And so I think you guys just pedal the metal. I'm with the mayor on that. Geographically, just off the top of your head, and I'm not asking for a map, where have these been scattered all around the city, or are they concentrated in certain areas, or do you know?
I haven't really looked specifically. We've had two landlords who own multiple properties throughout the city that were really good at getting applications in. So we have two property owners who probably have 25 to 30% of the applicants.
Okay. So okay, good. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Mr. Branstetter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Gum, towards the end of the cycle of the last fund, one of the issues that was identified and then resolved had to do with the getting the money out quickly was impeded by our check cycle policy. And then we did therefore a month added additional check cycles, I believe solely for these programs. Are we going to have a more enhanced check cycle process to move these funds quickly?
That would be my understanding. Finance has been very good to work with when we've needed funds immediately in emergency situations. They've done special check runs for us. So I would assume that will continue, yes.
Thank you.
So I'd entertain a motion on resolution number 2021-03.
I move resolution 2021-03.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Bulkey, seconded by Ms. Moss, that we adopt resolution number 2021-03. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We now move to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the council?
There is none, Mayor.
About new business, is there any new business to come before the council?
There is City Clerk.
We move down to motion number 2020-21-11.
Motion number 2021-11, appointing a council member to serve on the Pierce Transit Board of Commissioners through December 31st, 2022.
So on this, as I indicated previously and was communicated to you, after 9 years, I resigned my position, the position I've held on the Pierce Transit Board representing the city of Lakewood. I have received expression of interest in this from Ms. Moss, Ms. Farmer, and Mr. Whalen. This is an appointment for the remainder of a 3-year term. It's kind of an, I tell you that for those of you who are interested, it's kind of an odd duck in the respect that the term goes with the government entity that is appointing the person, whether or not it's filled by that person for that entire time frame. A lot of times people, this by resignation or your term of office expires. So it's unusual for somebody to have one 3-year term come on the first day, come off. This is a term through December 31st, 2022, basically 2 years of a 3-year term. So, Mr. Bulkey.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to nominate Deputy Mayor Jason Whalen for our board spot on the Pierce Transit Board.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Bulkey, seconded by Ms. Farmer, that we appoint Mr. Whalen to the Pierce Transit Board. So we should probably confirm that Mr. Whalen is interested in serving before we proceed farther.
Well, I'd be pleased to do it. I think a few of us have had some opportunities to serve on some of the outlying boards and transportation issues. I think it would be of interest to me, and I would appreciate the opportunity.
So is there, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
But, you know, the others want to, I mean.
Don't see any hands. Will all in favor please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And at your first meeting, you will have to sing "The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round."
Okay, I'll brush up.
So reports by the city manager, Mr. Caulfield.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Just got a few updates for you. First off, Congress is moving forward with a COVID-19 relief economic stimulus package. It's being spearheaded out of the House. And what I'd like to report on tonight is that their proposal does include funding for direct appropriation to local governments, particularly cities, towns, villages, and counties throughout the United States, which is something that we've all been asking for since this time last year, or 11 months ago or so. The timeline right now is that the House is hoping, it actually came out of one of their committees on Friday. Long story short, the House is hoping to take action by the latter part of this month. From there, we'll head over to the Senate. The Senate has already expressed that they will not be running it through their committees. Thus, it will go to the floor before the full Senate. There will likely be some amendments by the Senate. They'll do some reconciliation and then come back and vote. And then if it passes out of both the House and the Senate, then it will go to the president for a signature. They are working on a deadline, the deadline that they, a self-imposed deadline, and that is March 14th, 2021. And the reason being is because existing federal unemployment funds run out at that point in time. And this new relief package does include considerable funds for unemployment to continue after March 14th. The way they plan on doing it is that the monies would then be distributed to the states, and then the states would be responsible for cutting a check to all the local agencies directly. The current bill as proposed stipulates that the states cannot take any of the money for themselves because they're getting their own package of funds as well, and that they need to move those monies to the local jurisdictions with absolutely no strings attached, and get it out to them within 30 days of them receiving it. So based on that timeline where we are today, middle of March, it could be that the city of Lakewood, we would receive our funds sometime toward perhaps the latter part of April. The dollar amount for Lakewood would be, as it's currently proposed, is $14 million. And the reason that we're getting a little bit more money than perhaps other cities of our size is because we are a CDBG entitlement city. I think there's 27 or 28 CDBG entitlement cities in Washington state out of the 281. And all of those cities were all getting a little bit of a bump because of that. However, the dollars are not associated with HUD or anything along those lines. As a matter of fact, Congress has been explicit in the language that they have proposed that the use of the funds, maximum flexibility to local jurisdictions as it relates to COVID-19 relief, including something that cities have been asking for, which is to backfill lost revenue in our general funds because of the pandemic. At the same time, it is likely that Treasury will come out with their own rules and guidelines on how the money should be used. But again, Congress right now in their bill has some explicit language that would override any of that Treasury guidance and things along those lines. So that's where we are right now. Again, it's got to make it through the full House. It's got to get through the Senate, and of course, then the president's going to sign it. So that's kind of where we are. Certainly, as we receive more information, we'll be sure to share that with the council. To continue along the federal side, myself and the mayor, as well as our government relations contractor, Jake Johnson, we met with Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, a new Congresswoman representing the 10th District. I will say that it was a seamless transition from former Congressman Denny Heck to her team. It really was. And earlier, and this happened mid last week, but earlier in the week, we had also met with her team. And it was evident to us that it was a seamless transition. Really, we focused on our continued priorities, COVID-19 relief, which I just spoke about. Also, the continuation of support for the DCIP program, which she was very familiar with, as well as transportation funding for medium-sized cities. And we had a good discussion on that. Also, the North Clear Zone, also bringing back earmarks. And this is a conversation that we've had with our previous congressman as well. And she was quick to point out that it looks like earmarks might be coming back to Congress on a bipartisan format, perhaps this session even. And then also talked about the fact that the city of Lakewood is supportive of a BRAC, and that we were one of the first cities to come out and say that many years ago. But overall, the discussion was very, very positive, and I feel like we, quite frankly, haven't missed a beat there. Along those lines, one of the things that we were made aware at the state level was that the outgoing administration, long story short, had put, for the lack of a better term, the kibosh on some state and federal grant funding called the Land Water Conservation Fund. And you'll recall during the budget process, that we had applied for both state and federal monies through this program in support of our Ward's Lake project. And there's a number of other cities that had applied for funding. Well, again, the previous administration through the Department of Interior had essentially rescinded those funds. And so the city of Lakewood and a number of cities in Washington state would be negatively impacted. Long story short, and I want to thank our Parks and Recreation Director, Mary Dodsworth, got on this with her colleagues here in Washington state and then worked nationally. And Congresswoman Strickland, along with 90 other members of Congress, signed a letter to the new acting Department of Interior Secretary to bring those funds back. So it's highly likely they will, and then we're back in the game, and one way or the other, we'll either get the state funding or the federal funding. By the way, we won't get both. We have to choose one or the other. And so if we get them both, we'll choose the higher amount, which I think is the federal monies. But again, just wanted to point that out, and we thank the Congresswoman for getting on that so early in her term as well. I'd also like to add that coming from a city and being a mayor is very, very helpful when talking about city issues and community issues as well. Along the COVID-19 pandemic strain, our senior services team, even though the Senior Services Activity Center is closed, there's still activity going on. And our team continues to reach out to our seniors in the community, including having weekly Zoom meetings and some drive-bys over at Fort Tilikum Park, and have a phone tree set up. And we just have a number of activities, essentially virtual, that are available for them so that they can still stay connected to their friends and maintain those relationships until we can get to a point where we can open those facilities back up and they can get all together in person. The state legislature continues to move forward with a number of bills, and we're currently in the process of evaluating the cutoff and what made the cutoff and maybe what didn't make the cutoff yesterday coming out of committee. So I hope to have that in the next day or two. Meanwhile, we typically go down, a number of you will go down and we'll do a check-in with our legislators, during the middle of the session. And usually we do that end of February into March, and sometimes we go down once or twice. Well, obviously we won't be able to do that this year. And so what we are doing is we have reached out to them to see if they would be available to have a virtual meeting with this body as part of your March 15th regular meeting. And the reason for that is that's actually a week that they're not in session, that they're not voting on the floor. And so we're hoping to hear back that if not all of them, a majority of them would be available, and it'd be an opportunity for them to communicate, what they're doing down in Olympia, as well as giving a status of, our priorities and key projects and things along those lines. If you haven't heard, the Pierce County Jail has had a COVID outbreak. They actually now have 41 cases. Why does that impact Lakewood? The reason it impacts Lakewood is I issued a directive that we will be bringing none of those folks over to our court, into any of our buildings, into any of our vehicles, having contact with any of our staff. And I know that's unfortunate. That might create some problems with, the adjudication of their cases, but I'm just not going to risk having that COVID come over into our facility. The latest update that we have is that the jail is trying to do their contact tracing to find out, where it came from and things along those lines. But at this point in time, if we have hooked somebody up, well, typically we take folks over there with felonies, but sometimes they have misdemeanor charges attached to them. So then that's why they got to be brought back to our municipal court. But at this point in time, and it's not a large number either, but they won't be coming over to Lakewood. And then plus a lot of folks that we would bring to the court, to the jail, the jail's not taking them anyways. So they're all catch and release. So that's just the nature of the game right now, which is not the case for the Nisqually jail, by the way. And then just wanted to give you an update on the census 2020. So The current timeline is by April 30th of this year, the Census Bureau should have some population counts that are going to be used for the apportionment of legislative districts and things like that. And then that will extend out into September. So that's kind of what we know right now. So sometime in 2021, we'll have some numbers. That's the best I can give you right now. And then lastly, I do want to recognize our maintenance and operation crew for the response that they had to the winter weather event this past weekend. They did a phenomenal job, beginning actually early last week, but really beginning about last Thursday through late Sunday afternoon. The team, and there's 13 of them, they logged almost 2,500 miles of putting down de-icer, salt and sand, as well as, of course, plow operations. And that totaled almost 220 hours. So they were essentially going around the clock 24/7 in major shifts to keep our roads open. I had a chance to get out and drive around on Saturday morning while the snow was still coming down, and I had no problem getting around, all of our major roads. There was a lot of asphalt to be seen. And again, the reason for that is the prep work that they did in advance of that, the de-icer and putting down salt and sand, so that in some places the snow didn't take place. So I did want to call them out by name: Tom Cummings, Jay Anderson, Justin Pierce Powell, Orlando Moreno, Bob Toy, Steve Bird, Jeff Fors, Kenny Harris, Jeff Coda, Terrence Colvin, Mike Nebecker, Scott Turner, and then the superintendent, Scott Williams. They did a absolutely fantastic job. Matter of fact, I dropped by the shop a couple of times just to say hello, and there was nobody there because they're all out working. So just wanted to pass that on. And that's my report. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Caulfield? Thank you. So we'll move now to council comment. Ms. Farmer, did you have one?
Yeah, I couldn't find my raise hand function quickly enough. I was looking for my emojis so I could do my clap hand emojis for our snow crews. Mr. City Manager, has a date been set for the spring cleanup?
Councilmember Farmer, we're looking at the middle of April. The Saturday and Sunday would be the 17th and 18th. I know in the past, typically we've done it that first weekend of May. That currently does not work for Waste Connections. So we're looking at the 17th and the 18th. So probably more to come as we get closer to that.
I heard that the mayor was cleaning out his garage. I thought he might like to know. Excellent, thank you.
It was all useful stuff. It had to be rearranged.
Well, along those lines, we are looking for volunteers to help out down there. So Mayor, if you do have a truckload of things you want to bring down when you're done, you're more than welcome to stay and help out. So thank you, Councilmember Farmer.
I'll wear my boots and gloves. Anyone else question? Then we'll go to council comments. Mr. Branstetter.
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Moss.
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Farmer.
Ooh, I have a list. I'll take everybody else's time. So I think if the clerk can confirm that the CSAB meeting for tomorrow night was canceled. Pretty sure that's what I saw come through my email. Okay.
Correct. That meeting has been canceled.
Okay, thank you. So tomorrow I am testifying on the city's behalf in support of Substitute Senate Bill 5163, which regards the treatment and placement of sex offenders in the community. And on Thursday evening, I'll be joining Deputy Mayor Whalen at the at PCRC at our General Assembly for the year. And let's see. And I wanted to let everybody know that on the 17th, also on that day, I can't make it to 29th State Rep Melanie Morgan's virtual town hall because of said PCRC meeting, but I want to encourage folks who are interested to attend that on Facebook Live, YouTube, or Twitter, I believe. And then if you're interested in the 28th Legislative District update, then that is happening this Saturday at 10 a.m., where you'll hear from State Representatives Mari Leavitt and Dan Bernofsky, and also State Senator Tawana Nobles. Let's see. And then I wanted to put in a plug, if there's a way to get the word out about the CARES Act CDBG CV3 funds. It sounds like we've got some property owners that are jumping at the bit, and they have a lot of properties, but I'd be curious to know how we can get to regular old folks who might also be willing to take advantage of that. Thanks.
Mr. Bulkey.
I think the city manager wanted to say something.
Mr. Caulfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Just say, Councilmember Farmer, we actually have a great resource in how we are reaching out to folks, and that is, and it's actually a positive unintended consequence. It's our rental housing safety program, because we have a database of both landlords and renters, and that's what we have been using first and foremost. It's been very, very successful. As a matter of fact, other cities have been calling us, how is it you're able to reach out with a broad brush to everybody, essentially at the same time. And that's the reason. But then in addition, we also use our other traditional outreach methodology, which is primarily social media.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would note that that list, which is a public record, somehow found its way to the Economic Development Department of, and the Human Services Departments of Pierce County, and was used to solicit or encourage landlords to have people apply. Mr. Bulkey.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Whalen.
Just a few things. I wanted to extend my appreciation to all the staff folks who worked on the snow removal. I received some positive comments from residents that they thought the streets were cleared in a timely manner, and they appreciated that. So thank you. I too would like to make sure we do what we can to send out good positive information on the CDBG money and the reallocation monies that are going toward rental housing assistance. I know that a few, if not all, of our state legislative delegation is interested in housing issues for folks. And so having them know the good things that we're doing with the monies would probably be a positive thing to communicate. We heard from the city manager tonight about the potential of some federal monies coming down the pike to cities like Lakewood. Yeah, assuming our retreat is post the federal action on that, it might be kind of interesting to see if we can include some sort of discussion at our retreat, I think it's late March, on how we might be able to utilize some of the one-time monies for some of our wish list items for infrastructure improvements in the city. Just a thought on that. And then finally, another positive, there was an article in the paper today about Lakewood Landing. So I think that we're seeing some, not so positive press north of the county line. It's nice to see positive press about cities south of the county line like Lakewood that are continuing to do good work on the economic development front instead of causing grocery stores and major chains to close down, those kinds of things. Last week, I attended a Lake Wold Gardens board retreat where we were interviewing a very well-known artist in the Seattle area who is looking to make a proposal to Lake Wold to create kind of a, I want to call it a fantasy lights for lack of a better term, but a winter solstice event through art, music, and light at Lakewood Gardens to further attract attendees to Lakewood and to Lake Wold. It was a fascinating presentation by a guy, and they used all sorts of means to interact light and sound to create a very visually and orally appealing venue. So good use potentially of lodging tax monies that they do receive from the city, and they're doing some very positive things to generate activity there. So more to follow. That's it.
Thank you. I would note that I too receive compliments on the city's work on the streets. I also had a couple of voicemail complaints, but they weren't about the city's work. It was about, they were about the Safeway parking lot and apartment complex parking lots.
Right.
So it's interesting to note the contrast between the streets and the private property. So kudos to our team. Following up on city manager's comments regarding our meeting with the new council, congressional member, Congresswoman Strickland. I too thought it went very well. And that mayor thing really is going to help, I think, on understanding the issues. And I sat next to her for several years on the Pierce Transit Board. So we've known each other for a while, and that doesn't hurt either. We had coffee with the mayor on last Tuesday. Mr. Caulfield did a marvelous job of presenting the state of the city. And on Friday, I virtually appeared as a greeter for the opening of the Asia Pacific Cultural Center's Lunar New Year celebration for that day, celebrating the Marshall Islands. And somewhere along the line, I found out that given the statistics on visitors and population, that I am probably one of 250,000 people in the world who have set foot on the Marshall Islands in the since World War II. It's a beautiful place, but it has a larger percentage of water than any other country in the world. It's like 97, 98% water. So it is kind of interesting though. So is there anything else to come before council before executive session? So here's what I would pose. If we still have attendees who are interested, there will be no action taken by the council after executive session. I propose that we break for about 5 minutes and come back for a recess into executive session for approximately 45 minutes pursuant to RDCW 4230-110-1 to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment to elective office. The council is not expected to take action following the executive session. So let's come back at be there at 8:27 for the start of our 45 minutes. And we're in recess. Hello.
Hi, Mayor.
We're extending for 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, folks. Stand for another 10 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Let's see. Have to get signed out. I was having technical difficulties. We got to extend another 10. Sorry to keep you up.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor Anderson. I'm sorry, you're muted.
There it is. I said, we're adjourned.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Go home and tell your kids they're up too late.
Will do.
Have a good one. Sorry to keep you up so late. So,
We'll see you later.
okay. Bye.